Hello, hello, and welcome to my 15 minutes. My name is John. I host the channel. The channel name is Old Folks Boogie 2. I named it because I'm old. I'm a folk, and I like to boogie. It's an old joke, not worth telling over and over again, but I keep doing it anyway. Today is February 25th, 2020. And that means today is my, right? 56th episode of my 15 minutes. In case you've never seen me before, you're stumbling upon this by accident. I've got 56 of these in the can since January, 55 in the can. This is 56 since January 1st of this year. The object is to continue to do this for an entire year. 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes at some point during the day. Post it and go on. Go. Actually, it's interesting. Yeah, interesting. Just give me a second. I had to itch a little bit. Diabetes and metformin make me itchy for some reason. I don't know why. Diabetes mixed with metformin to try and help the diabetes. God. Trying to avoid as much sugar as possible, but not easy to do. Anyway, speaking of not easy to do, I've been, this is, I'm finding this harder than I thought I would to sit down here every day and do this for 15 minutes. It's hard to continue on with something to talk about. Nobody's giving me a script. it's so, I just finding it very strange, actually, and it's interesting. But I'm going to keep plugging away. But that doesn't mean that every night's going to be an interesting story or anything close to an interesting story or anything else. It could be just me ranting about something. Who knows? You never know what it's going to be. That's for sure. So that was kind of weird. Sorry I kicked my little tripod that the thing is being filmed on. In case if you go back, if you'd ever never seen this before, and you go back to the beginning, you'll see that I shot this in a different place, still in the same house, in the same living room, but I was shooting it in front of my office, and now I'm shooting it in front of nothing really. I'm just in a nice, easy chair, rocker I can sit back on. The old folk blanket behind me to keep me warm in the wintertime. So, and it squeaks. Do you hear that? Can you hear that? Squeaky squeak. I just moved here because it was more comfortable, and I'm not shooting on the camera anymore. I'm not shooting on the Nikon that I was shooting with in the beginning. Now I'm just doing everything on my Note. And now and as of last night, I hope everything worked out. I haven't checked, but last night I uploaded the video through my laptop for the first time, and that was not that it was hard to do, but when you're working on a Mac, I worked on Windows computers. I used Windows computers for years, still do. Susan's primary systems are Windows based because all of her stuff at work is Windows based, and so it works better to. But anyway, neither here nor there. So my primary computer is a Mac Mini, and I've been using it for a lot of years now. So you forget about it, even though I worked on them. And I mean, you forget about how they work. But it's come back to me, and I managed to, deal with it again. It wasn't that hard. But anyway, but that means that, so it's a little bit easier now. So I'll take one less step to get from, there in the camera to there on YouTube. Should be a little bit faster, a little bit easier to deal with. But I'm still, getting used to this every 15 minutes a day. I mean, it seems that I'm always doing it in the evening nowadays. And since the beginning, I guess, I don't think there's any other time of day I've actually ever filmed this thing or videotaped it, or I'm not sure what you could, just a video, I guess, a film video. Anyway, um, I forgot what I was going to say now. Again, there's an AIDS thing coming on. That's, oh, God. Geez. You know, if things don't go well, I maybe end up repeating a lot of stuff toward the end of this year of putting this stuff out there. But I need to get other content. I know that because I'm going to get bored of myself already. I'm somewhat bored of myself, and there's only so many stories you can tell. I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many I have. I'm not sure how many my memory is going to allow me to access anymore. I told you there's a whole rock concert I went to that my brother David told me about. I have no idea. I don't remember any of it. Like I said, I remember one incident on the way up, and that is it. So, how things disappear, if they'll ever come back. And I know I wasn't drinking that hard or anything like that. There's no reason for that. But, there's probably lots of gaps in my memory over the years. I've had some interesting nights, interesting days. Things happen. Had a lot of fun in my life. Got married later. Had a couple kids. 70 years old. It's coming down to the end of it, really. I'm not sure what that means exactly, and we talked about that on this channel before, and somebody prognosticated they didn't say I would die, but anyway, so as we progress and move on through different things, I guess some of those stories get lost. Some of them, just disappear into the ether of your mind. The ones that stand out. Like, I remember my very first automobile accident, and I remember my second automobile accident. The first one, we had this was in 19, well, I didn't start driving till I turned 16, 65. So in 66, I wrecked two cars. The first one, not too bad, but the second one I totaled. The first one was our station wagon. We had a 62 Ford Galaxy station wagon, or a Country Squire station wagon or something. I'm not even sure what the model is, but it was a bare bones station wagon. No carpeting, barely a radio, no air conditioning. Had a roof rack, so my dad could put a giant bag on the roof, and that's how we traveled from place to place. We bought that car just before we moved out of Houston and on to Kentucky. So I was 12 when that car came into existence at our house. And 4 years later or so, I wrecked it. And actually, it wasn't a really bad wreck, but I slid in snow on the Shelbyville Pike Route 60 there, going towards St. Matthews. And I somehow slid off on the right-hand side of the road in the snow, lost complete control of the car, and sideswiped a tree. Did some damage. And then later that year, around Christmas, around the holidays, just before I was ready to go in the Army, I totaled out the family VW. Rolled that sucker big time. Coming home from a date, a double date actually. I had another friend in the car at the time. And we survived actually. We were coming down coming back from out in Oldham County, coming back down through Anchorage. Um, and there, the road back from Oldham County would take you over a set of railroad tracks that were a bit higher. The railroad embankment was higher than the road. So you had to go up and over. And I guess I did it at about 45 or 50 miles an hour. You come into a curve, you make a left, you go over the bridge, and then it goes a right again. And we didn't do that. We went over the bridge. When we came down, I felt all four wheels actually just go under the car, and it started to go sideways and then roll. It may have rolled more than once, I'm not sure, but I think at least once I know of. But ended up on its feet again. and drivable actually after all that. And we didn't, this was a 1963 VW. There was no seat belts, there was nothing else in it, but that rolled that, and it held up. That little VW did not collapse, didn't, we survived. Really almost no bumps or bruises. I can't even to this day figure out how we got away with it, but we did. And we came we actually came down on all fours. We got out of the car. We looked it over. We may have had to pull the fenders away from the tires so we could drive it. It was the middle of the night. It was like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And in Kentucky in those days, that was, not many people were out that late in that era in Kentucky where we lived. These were a lot of farmers lived around there. They went to bed early. And they called it a bedroom community where that was, but anyway, so no cars came or anything. We managed to, and then we drove home. I dropped the guy that I was off, my friend off. We had gone out for a double date, and it was like Christmas. I mean, right at Christmas. And we had taken the girls out. I don't know if it was dinner or a movie or whatever, and then dropped them back off again. And then we're headed home when the accident happened. And then I went ahead and took him home when we got the car, figured it out, got the fenders pulled out, and I drove him back, and then I went home. And unfortunately, I had to wake my dad up and tell him, or maybe I didn't. I'm not even sure anymore whether I just went to bed and left the car there to be discovered, because I think that might have actually been more like me at that time. I don't think I would wake him up for that. But I'm not sure whether I woke him up and then he went downstairs. Well, I remember it actually both ways, so it could. It's think about that. That is so either maybe it was really. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he found out about the car, and actually one of the interesting things that happened in the accident, because Volkswagens at that time were rear engine, and they had the battery under the back seat of the car, and that battery had broken. And while I was been sitting, acid had eaten its way through the floor pan of the VW and into and onto the transmission housing. And I never saw this, but my dad told me that the technician told him that it had actually eaten the battery acid. By the time somebody towed it, because this was like a weekend, I think the car sat for all weekend until maybe a couple even days. But by the time the car got to wherever it was going, battery acid had eaten into the transmission. It wouldn't matter anyway. It was a total loss. He totaled that thing. It's a shame too. But anyway, and again, that was my fault. So there was 2 accidents I had in my first year of driving, and I was sentenced. Well, you know what? I should tell those stories tomorrow, my early driving days. I'll do that. I'll save that topic for the rest of it, about how I was not the most responsible 15-year-old out there. Anyway, so, but my 15 minutes is up for the night. So we're going to say good night. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and be kind out there.